Have you ever been humiliated so badly at work that you felt your chest tighten and your mind go completely blank? That moment when everyone's watching, nobody says a word, and you realize your boss isn't correcting you, he's trying to break you. That happened to me, in a packed meeting room, with people I worked with every single day. And the worst part? He smiled while doing it. He thought I'd stay quiet. He thought I'd accept my place. He was wrong.
My name isn't important, but the story is real, and it might sound uncomfortably familiar. If you've ever felt underestimated, ignored, or disrespected at work, you're not alone. Before we get into it, if stories like this resonate with you, please support the channel by liking this video and subscribing. It truly helps more than you realize. And one more thing, drop a comment and let me know what city you're watching from. I read every single one. Now, let me tell you about the moment my boss humiliated me in front of everyone.
It was one of those Monday mornings that felt heavier than usual, even though nothing seemed different on the surface. The sky over downtown Chicago was gray, the kind that made the glass buildings look cold and distant. I stepped out of the elevator on the 9th floor, balancing a paper coffee cup in one hand and my laptop bag in the other, already mentally preparing myself for another long week. The office smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink. The usual soundtrack filled the space: keyboards clicking, Slack notifications chiming, low conversations about weekend plans. Someone laughed near the break room. "Morning," I said as I passed a group from marketing. "Hey," one of them replied without really looking up. That was normal. I'd been here long enough to know where I stood. Not invisible, but not exactly noticed either. I dropped my bag at my desk and powered up my computer. Before the screen even finished loading, I saw Mark's office door swing open. Glass walls, clean desk, always spotless. He stepped out, buttoned jacket, confident stride, eyes scanning the room like he owned every square foot of it. "All right, everyone, conference room, now." Conversations died, instantly. I could feel it, that quiet pressure before something goes wrong. My heart beat faster, even though I kept telling myself this was probably nothing, just another Monday, just another meeting. I was wrong.
Mark finally turned on the screen at the front of the room. The projector hummed softly, throwing a familiar dashboard onto the wall. Charts, bullet points, my work. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at the screen, lips pressed together, like a disappointed teacher about to lecture a class. Then he sighed, loudly. "So," he said, dragging the word out, "let's talk about this. No names yet, just this." I shifted in my chair. Around me, people straightened up, suddenly very interested in their notebooks. Someone cleared their throat. Another clicked a pen open, then closed it again. Mark paced slowly in front of the table. "This project," he continued, "was supposed to be simple. Clear instructions, clear expectations." He paused and glanced at the team. "And yet, here we are." He clicked to the next slide. Red highlights, comments in bold. "Can anyone explain why this looks like it was rushed?" Silence. I could feel eyes drifting toward me, then quickly away. Nobody wanted to be the one. Mark stopped pacing and faced the room. "Who worked on this?" My chest tightened. I knew what was coming. Still, I raised my hand. "That was me," I said. Mark tilted his head slightly, like he was pretending to think. "Right," he said. "Of course it was." A few people laughed, not because it was funny, because they didn't know what else to do. I swallowed. "I followed the brief we discussed last month, including the changes you sent."
Mark smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "No," he replied, shaking his head. "You followed your interpretation of the brief." He turned back to the screen. "And that," he pointed with the clicker, "is the problem." I tried to speak again, but he cut me off with a raised hand. "Let me finish." The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Mark leaned against the table and looked around. This is what happens when people don't think beyond their role, when they don't see the bigger picture. His eyes flicked back to me. Some people just plateau. Nobody said my name. They didn't have to. I felt my face heat up, my hands tense under the table. Every word landed like a quiet judgment, and with each sentence it became clearer. This meeting wasn't about feedback. It was about setting an example, and I was it.
Mark didn't sit down. He never did when he wanted control. Instead, he stood at the front of the room, one hand resting on the conference table, the other holding the clicker like a weapon. The screen behind him glowed with my work, frozen in place for everyone to see. "This," he said, tapping the clicker against his palm, "is not acceptable." He turned toward me. "Do you even understand what this project was supposed to accomplish?" The question wasn't genuine. It was a trap. "Yes," I replied carefully. "The goal was to streamline the onboarding process and reduce—" He laughed. Not loud. Worse, short and dismissive. "No," he said, shaking his head. "That's what the document says. I'm asking if you understand it." A few people shifted in their seats. Someone whispered, "Damn," under their breath. I felt every eye on me. My heart pounded so hard I was sure people could hear it. "I followed the strategy we discussed. If there was a concern, I wish you'd told me earlier." Mark raised his eyebrows, almost amused. "So now it's my fault?" he asked, looking around the room. "That's interesting." He stepped closer to the table. "Let me be clear," he said. "This isn't about one mistake. This is about capability." The word hung in the air. "Some people," he continued, "just don't have what it takes to operate at a higher level." He paused, then looked directly at me. "And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to lead." My stomach dropped. I opened my mouth to respond, but he cut me off again. "Look," he said, turning back to the team. "This is a good learning moment. If you don't push yourself, if you don't think strategically, this is what happens." He pointed at the screen again. "This is amateur work." That was it. The room went silent. I felt my face burn, my ears ring. I stared at the table, afraid that if I looked up, I'd lose control of my expression. Nobody defended me. Nobody challenged him. Why would they? Mark straightened his jacket. Hill said, "We'll fix this," he said casually. "I'll reassign the project to someone more experienced." He glanced at me one last time. "You can stay on as support." Support. In front of everyone, he didn't just criticize my work, he reduced me to a footnote. And as the meeting ended and chairs scraped against the floor, I realized something had shifted. This wasn't feedback. This was humiliation.
The meeting ended without a formal dismissal. No thank you, no recap. People just stood up quietly, chairs scraping against the floor, the tension still hanging in the air like static. Mark walked out first, already checking his phone like nothing significant had just happened. I stayed seated for a moment longer, staring at the blank screen. My name was still there, attached to the project, even though the ownership had just been stripped away in front of everyone. As I walked back to my desk, conversations restarted. Softly at first, then louder once people thought they were out of earshot. Laughter returned too,
quickly, almost offensively fast. A coworker caught up to me near the hallway. "Hey, man," he said, lowering his voice. "That was rough." "Yeah, it was." He hesitated, then added, "Don't take it personally. You know how Mark is." I nodded, even though we both knew that didn't make it better. At my desk, I noticed the shift immediately. People who usually stopped to chat now walked past with forced smiles. Others suddenly found reasons to talk around me instead of to me. Later that day, a new hire introduced herself. "Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm shadowing the team this week." "Nice to meet you," I replied, offering a polite smile. "Oh," she said quickly, glancing toward Mark's office. "You're on his team?" "Yeah." Her smile changed. Subtle, but unmistakable. "Oh, okay." That was it. No follow-up questions, no curiosity, just an unspoken conclusion. In the break room, I overheard whispers. "Did you see that meeting?" "Yeah, brutal. I wouldn't want to be in his position." His position, not mine. Every small interaction became a reminder. Emails went unanswered longer. Ideas were acknowledged, then repeated by someone else and suddenly praised. During another meeting, I tried to speak. "I think we could improve this by—" Mark interrupted without even looking at me. "Let's move on." Nobody pushed back. By the end of the day, I sat at my desk long after most people had left, replaying the moment again and again. The words, the looks, the silence. That's when I realized something had changed permanently. Not just how Mark saw me, but how everyone else did too. And once that label sticks, it follows you everywhere.
The weeks that followed felt longer than they should have. Nothing dramatic happened, no shouting, no public scenes, just something quieter and somehow worse. I started to feel like I was shrinking inside the office. Every interaction changed. When new people joined the team, introductions felt awkward. He helps with documentation," Mark once said, waving his hand vaguely in my direction. Helps. Not leads, not owns, just helps. A new analyst asked me one afternoon, "So what do you actually do here?" Not curious, evaluating. "I manage the onboarding workflows," I said. "Oh," he replied, "I thought Mark handled that." He walked away before I could answer. In meetings, my ideas landed flat. I'd speak clearly, calmly. "If we adjust the timeline here, we could reduce friction for—" Mark would cut in mid-sentence. Yeah, we'll revisit that later." Later never came. 10 minutes after that, someone else would say the same thing. "That's a great point," Mark would respond instantly. "Let's explore that." I watched it happen again and again. Same words, different mouth, different result. I stopped raising my hand as much, not because I didn't care, but because I was tired of being ignored. Emails felt colder too. Short replies, delayed responses, sometimes none at all. When mistakes happened that weren't mine, they still found their way back to me. "Can you fix this? Why wasn't this flagged earlier? We need to be more careful." We. But when something went right, it was them. One afternoon in the break room, I overheard two coworkers talking. "Mark doesn't really trust him anymore," one said quietly. "Yeah, I noticed. Probably capped out." Capped out. That phrase followed me. I started doubting myself, replaying meetings, rewriting emails 3 times, second-guessing decisions I used to make confidently. Every day felt like I had to prove I belonged, again and again, while everyone else moved freely. By the end of each day, I'd sit at my desk staring at the screen long after the office emptied, wondering how one meeting turned me into someone people looked past. And the worst part? They weren't even trying to be cruel anymore. They had simply decided who I was.
The breaking point didn't come during a meeting or in front of other people. It came late one night, long after the office lights had dimmed and the cleaning crew had already passed through. The building was quiet in a way that felt almost unreal, like the company itself had gone to sleep. I sat alone at my desk, the glow of my monitor reflecting off the empty rows of cubicles. My inbox was still open, an unanswered email blinking at the top of the screen, another request to just fix it real quick. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled slowly. For weeks, I'd been reacting, defending myself, trying to explain, trying to prove something to people who had already made up their minds. And none of it had worked. I pulled up my old projects, the ones from before that meeting. Clean timelines, clear metrics, positive feedback, promotions that almost happened. I wasn't bad at my job. Mark wasn't smarter than me either. He was louder, more confident, and more careful about where blame landed. That's when something shifted. I stopped feeling angry. Anger had made me sloppy, emotional, predictable. Instead, I felt calm, cold even. From that night on, I changed how I worked. I stopped pushing back in meetings. When Mark interrupted me, I let him. When he dismissed an idea, I wrote it down instead of arguing. "Sounds good," I'd say. "Got it," I'd reply. And then I documented everything. Every instruction, every deadline, every "just do it this way" message. Emails went into folders. Slack messages got screenshots. Meeting notes became detailed and time-stamped. When Mark said, "We'll handle that later," I followed up with a summary email. "Per our discussion, we're postponing this decision." He never replied, but he didn't correct it either. People started noticing my silence. "You okay?" a coworker asked one afternoon. "Yeah," I said, "just focusing." That was true, but not in the way they thought. I wasn't trying to win approval anymore. I was gathering leverage. I worked late not to impress anyone, but to understand the system, who approved what, where reports went, how leadership tracked performance. I stopped reacting emotionally and started watching patterns. And slowly, quietly, I realized something important. Mark's power depended on one thing: people not paying attention. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, buried between calendar invites and routine updates. The subject line was bland enough to be ignored if you weren't paying attention. Q3 process review and leadership audit. I opened it slowly. Corporate language filled the screen. Phrases like operational alignment, accountability, and cross-functional transparency. But one line stood out to me. Individual documentation may be requested. I felt my pulse quicken, just slightly. The announcement spread through the office within minutes. People leaned over cubicle walls, whispering, "Did you see that? Audit? That can't be good. They're bringing in outside consultants." Mark reacted differently. By noon, he was suddenly visible, walking the floor, checking in, smiling more than usual. "Hey," he said as he stopped by my desk, voice lighter than I'd heard in months. "We?" He hadn't used that word with me in a long time. "Sure," I replied evenly. Over the next few days, his tone changed. He started forwarding emails. "Can you pull the original timelines? Do you still have the notes from last quarter? Let's make sure we are consistent." Consistent. In meetings, he asked for my input again, but carefully. "What do you think?" he'd say, glancing around to see who was watching. I answered politely, neutrally, no emotion. Inside, I could feel the shift. For the first time since that meeting months ago, Mark wasn't setting the narrative. He was trying to control it. One afternoon, he closed his office door and motioned me to sit. "Look," he said, lowering his voice, "these reviews can get messy. It's important we're on the same page.
I met his eyes. "I agree," I said. "Accuracy matters." He nodded slowly, unsure if that was reassurance or a warning. As the audit date approached, I organized my files, emails, screenshots, meeting summaries. Nothing exaggerated, nothing altered, just facts. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't need to. All I had to do was be ready when the questions came. Because for the first time since that meeting months ago, the spotlight wasn't on my work. It was on his leadership. The conference room on the 22nd floor felt different from the others. Quieter, colder. The kind of room where people chose their words carefully because careers had a way of ending there. Executives sat along one side of the table, HR on the other. Two external consultants opened their laptops without saying much. Mark sat near the front, posture straight, expression confident. I took a seat slightly behind him. The meeting began with polite introductions and rehearsed smiles. A consultant clicked through slides, process flow, performance metrics, missed targets. Nothing personal, not yet. Then the questions started. Why was the onboarding timeline extended by 3 weeks? One executive asked. Mark didn't hesitate. Resource constraints, he replied smoothly. The team struggled to keep up. I felt a few heads turn toward me. Another executive leaned forward. Were risks escalated? Mark nodded. Yes, but execution issues slowed progress. The consultant paused. According to our notes, she said, the revised timeline was approved internally. Mark glanced at me for half a second. Yes, he said, I approved it. The room went quiet. Can we see the approval? HR asked. Mark smiled. Of course. He looked at me again. Can you send that over? He asked casually. I had been waiting for that moment. I already did, I said, calm, along with the original instructions. HR checked her inbox. So, she said slowly, the delay followed your directive to pause phase 2? Mark's smile tightened. Well, yes, but that was based on concerns raised by the team. I spoke again, carefully. For clarity, I followed Mark's written instructions. I documented every change request. The consultant looked up. Do you have those records? Yes, time-stamped. The dynamic shifted instantly. Questions turned sharper. Why wasn't this communicated upward? Why was responsibility framed as execution failure? Why was feedback delivered publicly instead of privately? Mark adjusted in his chair. I was managing performance, he said. One executive shook his head. It doesn't read that way. The room felt heavy now. No one smiled. For the first time, Mark wasn't directing the conversation. He was defending himself. The meeting didn't end with a dramatic confrontation. No raised voices, no slammed doors. Just a quiet, uncomfortable pause that said everything words didn't need to. One of the executives closed her notebook. Thank you, she said evenly. We'll follow up. That was it. Mark nodded stiffly and stood up, adjusting his jacket like armor. He didn't look at me as he walked out of the room. Not once. In the days that followed, the office felt suspended. Conversations were careful. People spoke in half sentences. Mark stayed behind his glass walls more than usual. Door closed, blinds half drawn. Emails from leadership started coming in. Please clarify the approval chain. Forward any relevant documentation. Confirm communication timelines. I responded to each one, calmly, factually, no commentary. Then, one morning, Mark didn't show up. His calendar went blank, his name disappeared from meeting invites. Someone whispered near the coffee machine, "Have you heard? HR's involved." Another said, "He's on leave." By the end of the week, it was official. An email from HR landed in everyone's inbox. Effective immediately, Mark will no longer be with the company. No explanation, no praise, no farewell. Just absence.
I walked past his office that afternoon. The glass walls were empty, desk cleared, chair pushed in like he might come back, but we all knew he wouldn't. People looked at me differently now. Not openly, not dramatically, just small things. "Hey," someone said, stopping by my desk. "You handled that whole thing really well." Another added, "Honestly, that meeting explained a lot." I nodded, thanked them, and went back to work. There was no celebration, no victory speech, just relief. I didn't feel proud. I felt steady, because I hadn't destroyed anyone. I had simply stopped protecting someone who didn't deserve it.
The office didn't change overnight, but something in the air did. The tension that had followed me for months slowly dissolved, replaced by a cautious kind of normal. Meetings felt quieter, more respectful. People listened again. A week after Mark left, a new manager was introduced. Her name was Sarah. No dramatic speech, no power plays. She stopped by my desk on her first day. "Hey," she said, smiling. "I've been reviewing the onboarding workflows." I looked up. Okay. They're solid. Clear structure, thoughtful execution. It caught me off guard. I didn't know what to say at first. "Thank you," I finally replied. She pulled up a chair. "Can you walk me through how you designed them?" For the first time in a long while, someone asked because they actually wanted to understand. Over the next weeks, things shifted subtly. I was invited into conversations earlier. My emails got responses. My input wasn't questioned before it was heard. One afternoon, Sarah said something that stayed with me. "I don't care who gets credit. I care who gets it right." I didn't become louder. I didn't change who I was. The environment did. I realized then that respect doesn't always come from fighting back. Sometimes it comes from surviving long enough to be seen clearly. Looking back, I don't replay that meeting anymore. It no longer defines me. What defines me is how I handled everything that followed, with restraint, patience, and truth. And maybe that's the real lesson. You don't need revenge to move forward. You need clarity. And once you have that, the rest has a way of sorting itself out.
What I learned from all of this is simple, but not easy. You don't always win by being louder. You don't win by humiliating someone back. Sometimes the strongest response is patience, documentation, and letting the truth speak for itself. If you're in a place right now where you feel ignored, underestimated, or disrespected, this is your reminder. Your value doesn't disappear just because someone refuses to see it. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If it resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps more than you know. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single one. Take care, stay steady, and I'll see you in the next video.